Hey everybody, welcome to Professional Photography Tips. I'm Josh Cripps and I'm going to show you how you can take amazing photos with any camera, whether it's an SLR or an iPhone, all by understanding 7 simple principles of photography. Now these principles are dramatically oversimplified, totally subjective, and the list is by no means exhaustive or comprehensive. Nevertheless, if you're new to photography and wondering how to start improving your images, this is a great place to begin, so let's dive in. Fill the frame with what you like. This is the most important rule of photography and the only rule you should never break. See this great picture of a flower? No! This is much better. Now, zooming is okay, but the best zoom lens is your legs, so get closer. Am I close enough?
No.
Now am I close enough?
Nope.
Is this close enough?
Maybe.
Now this goes for everything you could possibly want to shoot. Landscapes, wildlife, people, sea monkeys. Fill the frame with what you like and get rid of everything else. Boring blue sky not exciting you? Get rid of it. Tree branches, lunch boxes, random people, other clutter distracting the elements? Ditch it, ditch it, ditch it. Philosophically, this is your task every time you take a picture. Figure out what the photo is really about. Fill the frame with those elements and get rid of everything else. A good photo is like a caricature. It simplifies and exaggerates. Now that you've figured out what to put in your photo, think about how you can exaggerate its characteristics. Use contrasting colors to make your subject stand out. Use other objects to create a sense of scale, big or small. Use a long shutter speed to emphasize movement, or zoom in on one particular feature. Try changing your focal length, your perspective, or your white balance to exaggerate certain characteristics. When you simplify and exaggerate, you create photos with focus and punch. Instead, use the rule of thirds. Divide your photo up into an imaginary tic-tac-toe board, then place the most important elements on those vertical and horizontal lines. This lets us define a relationship between our subjects, emphasize what you think is most important, or create a visual gateway through the photo. So instead of this, try this. And instead of this, do this. Or even this. Hot damn, our photos are looking better already. The major exception to the rule of thirds is anytime you want two parts of your photo to have the same visual weight. Reflections, counterpoint, juxtaposition, abstract. These are all great times to use the rule of halves, or quarters, or 1/pi, or whatever feels right. Use what's called a near-far composition to create depth and to pull people into your image. By having a foreground subject close to your camera and a background subject far away from your camera, you create a story and a context for your image. You also create a three-dimensional sense of depth and perspective. If you have a wide-angle lens, you can use this technique to great effect by going all the way wide and getting super close to your foreground subject. This wide-angle near-far is absolutely awesome for drawing viewers into your image and making people feel like they're standing in your photo. If you have multiple subjects in your photo, then the story of your image is about the connection between those subjects. And your viewer will understand that connection 10 times better if you use some kind of a line to visually connect those elements. We call these leading lines because they lead from one subject to another. Leading lines are also a great way to give your viewer a visual journey through your photo. Anything can be a good leading or connecting line if you use the right perspective. Use a river to connect your foreground to your background. Use a sand dunes ridge to draw the viewer's eye through your frame. A crack in the ice or the lines in a piece of sandstone. No matter how you use them, leading lines are an awesome way to connect the elements of your photo and to create a visual journey for your viewers. One of the best ways to make somebody say, "Hey, that's an interesting photo," is to show them something they've never seen before. We spend our whole lives looking at the world from eye level, so why take a picture from eye level? It's the same old boring perspective. I mean, hey, this field of flowers does look pretty good from up here. But from down here, things take on a whole new life. So get up, get down, get on the ground, and show the world your perspective. Unfortunately, the most common time to be out doing stuff, the middle of the day, is often the worst time for photography because of the harsh quality of the light and shadow. So what can you do? Well, The best solution photographically speaking is to come back another time. Sunrise and sunset usually offer the most interesting skies and the most pleasing light on your foreground. Alternatively, you can move into the shade. Shady conditions or cloudy conditions gives a nice, soft, even light that's very flattering for things like portraits or flower photography. But sometimes coming back or moving to another spot isn't practical. You're here now. So what can you do? Simple, use directional lighting to your advantage. Instead of shooting toward the sun, which while it can be dramatic, usually makes your subject go completely black. So, shoot along with the sun, away from the sun, or put the sun at an angle. But if that killer shot is looking right at the sun, don't despair. The technique here is to expose for the brightest part of the scene and let everything else go into shadow. Digital cameras have almost no capability to retain detail in the highlights, but they have an insane capability to retain detail in the shadows. So if you expose for the brightest part of the scene, you'd be amazed what you can recover in post-processing, whether you're shooting with an SLR or an iPhone. Finally, break all the rules except number one. Photography isn't about following rules, it's about having fun and showing people the way that you see the world. So don't be afraid to experiment or go out on a limb. As long as there's some method to your madness, you're creating art. So get out there and shoot. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out last week's video, and don't forget to subscribe for weekly photography tips and techniques. Check out my website, joshuacripps.com, for landscape photography, workshops, tutorials, and more. As always, guys, have fun and happy shooting.